afternoon and welcome to the 9th edition of Horeca Kuwait and to our hospitality forum. I'll start the panel by, if you may introduce yourselves to our audience. So I'll start with you, Hamad.
Hamad Jdeh, CEO Zida. أولاً, thank you for this opportunity. أنا بالنسبة لي, I started my career in the investment industry as a financial analyst. After that, I worked in non-profits, specifically in open data and government transparency projects. بعد الفيز هذه, I ventured into food tech, mainly to explore the issues that businesses are facing, which eventually led to launching Zida. Zida is basically a direct-to-customer approach for online ordering. The restaurants can build their own app on Instagram, link it, market it, and their customers can order commission-free with the convenience of online ordering, payments integrated, delivery integrated as well.
And then you're the founder and CEO.
Exactly.
Perfect. So I will speak more as well about Zida in a few. Wasim, أهلا وسهلا.
Thank you.
You need to press.
I think it's working. Okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Wasim Makarim. So I come from a retail background originally. So I started in the FMCG business, and that's where I spent a majority of my career, from supply chain to commercial to marketing. And that's my first adventure with e-commerce, where the company I worked for, which is the Sultan Center, launched their e-commerce platform, and that's where I knew I had a passion for the online delivery business. And I took the opportunity to join Talabat. I've been with Talabat for 2.5 years. I joined them as a managing director. I'm now the VP of regional markets, covering Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, plus a VP of our new venture, which is the dark stores, which is ultra-fast groceries. And I mean, the past 15 years in retail is a very mature industry. It's very slow. Moving to such a fast-paced industry that changes not by the days, but by the hour. That's how exciting and revolutionizing it is. So it's been interesting 2.5 years, and I think more is to come in the online food business.
Thank you. Ahmad.
Marhaba, shukran. Thank you for having us. My name is Ahmed Salama, and my background was originally in financial services and financial markets. I spent 5 years in that field, working as a foreign exchange trader, worked in fixed incomes and money markets, but boy was I out of place in there. I've always had a passion and affinity towards technology and tech in general, and I always knew I was going to do my own thing in this space. I spent a couple of years doing an MBA, which allowed me to kind of pivot and figure out what I could potentially start and run. And I did have one stint though between, after the MBA, in between Bilbait, working in a corporate job for a year. And then in 2015, we launched Bilbait. Bilbait is an online catering / groups and gatherings marketplace. Our main offering is food, but we have recently been expanding outside of food into seating, into experiences, and into a few other categories in the near future.
So I'd like to welcome you all. My name is Alameddine, and I'm the moderator of this panel. I'm a partner in a consultancy company called Hodema. We're a Lebanese-based company. We're specialized in retail, real estate, and hospitality. We cover the Middle East and Africa regions, and we are franchise experts as well. So thank you again for being here, and welcome again to our topic, which is the advantages of online food ordering systems for restaurants. Today we have a diversity of online here among the three of you. So I will be starting my first question by what are the specificities really, each of you of your business, fleet size, number of brands, number of subscribers. If you can tell us a little bit more about it.
Sure. احنا بالنسبة لنا we launched in 2018, the first round to go live. Specifics in terms of 2019, we closed the year with 300 new brands. We're looking to double and triple this number in 2020. Now, the size of the, we started off mainly focused on the food sector. Eventually, we realized that there was a lot of inbound interest from home businesses, and so we decided to cater to those as well. And then, we closed the year, I believe, with close to a 20% month-on-month growth for in terms of sales for these businesses.
What about Talabat?
So Talabat, 2004, so we've been in the market for a good number of years. So basically, Talabat, as I think most of you know it, use it, is basically a food aggregator. That's our core. We have thousands of brands, thousands of restaurants on Talabat, focused on, I think, around maybe plus 40 different cuisines that are covered. Our operating model is split into two. So we have what we call a marketplace, where we are just the aggregator that links the customer with the restaurant. 2 years ago, we launched what we call OD, on delivery, where we also support with logistics and with the delivery experience. That was first started by our sister company Carriage, and then later adopted by Talabat. So basically, our objective, our target is that every customer, every person in Kuwait should use Talabat at least once a month. So that's our target, to hit that, because we want to drive convenience, we want to drive simplicity and affordability to our customers. 15 years have been through a lot of ups and downs, but I think Talabat is positioned very well now within the market for linking the customers to the partners in a way that makes sense to both.
Thank you.
Bilbate store is a bit different because we kind of we entered a space that was very nascent and young and didn't have many players in it, and we kind of helped it evolve and become what it is today. So when we launched initially, we launched with 12 brands, 6 of whom had catering offerings before Bilbate, and 6 launched for the first time with us. And today in Kuwait, we probably have over 300 food catering concepts from a tiny market. So essentially, it's not like it's not like the restaurant or delivery market where you can go after every restaurant. They have to have a catering offering first. So we worked hand in hand with a lot of these guys, built out their catering offerings, helped them with their with their catering capability, how to structure everything. So it was very hands-on in the early days. Today, across the board, across all the verticals in each market we're in, we're probably over 500 plus vendors. Our offering spans 2 main areas, food and non-food. For food, we sub-segment it into 2 areas, which are catering, which is essentially food stations and buffets, and the second food segment we used to call for a long time drop-off, now we call gathering platters, which is basically everything you order for a group of people, 3 plus, like canapes, finger foods, cheese boards, cakes, etc., all aggregated in one place. We are a marketplace. We've never done delivery before until recently. We're piloting a small delivery service. The non-food segments, like I mentioned, are seating and accessories plus experiences. Bilbate's goal overall is to become more of a social lifestyle super app. So anything related to lifestyle, social requirements, needs that could fit into a solid, well-built platform is what our long-term plan is. So as you'll see every year, we'll keep on introducing a couple of new complementary supporting verticals like seating, accessories, and experiences, but more, we're going to be more focused on verticals that can kind of deliver the type of frequency we need with orders. So like Wasim mentioned, they want everyone in Kuwait to order once a month. We want 10% of Kuwaitis to order once a month on the Bilbait platform. So that's our goal, really. We're on 3 markets, like I mentioned, Kuwait, UAE, and we recently launched in Saudi. That's us in a summary.
Perfect, thank you so much. So how do you describe the online delivery market in Kuwait? You know, we have 2 panels on the first 2 days during Horeca, and everybody was speaking about online delivery. So do you think there is still room for new players? How do you really assess that market?
I think, so this is a great question actually. We believe whenever the technological landscape changes, this calls for new models and new ways and new behaviors of order. Talabat, for example, they initially started out with a website. And most people, for them to access Talabat, they had to go on a laptop or a desktop to order. Eventually, that app stores were developed, smartphones as well. And then the last shift that happened was with social media apps, specifically in Kuwait. The most popular is Instagram, for instance. Now, over the last 5 years, there's been a growing trend of people ordering through Instagram, either through DMs, being linked to WhatsApp, or sometimes linking to Kajal Talabat, which was in a way inconvenient for some customers. Because it doesn't directly work with the app or open the app directly. You would have to go through our website and so on. And we realized this was an opportunity for us to basically help the customers with a more convenient way to order online without leaving Instagram, for example. And we thought this was a big gap that needed to be filled. And it also aligned with the interests of restaurant owners, whom were searching for a way to order, to serve their customers directly, without having to go through a marketplace where the rules can be changing month to month, the commissions can be changing year to year, and that introduced a lot of unpredictability to their business and sustainability. We saw this opportunity, and this is where Zida emerged, and the adoption that we're seeing it pick up among restaurant owners, as well as on the consumer side. It's becoming now more of a habit and more of a thing. Some campaigns we've seen launch with the slogan of "Minu قال ما تقدر تطلب من Instagram." And this is picking up now in Kuwait, and we're hoping to introduce this concept as well in the rest of the GCC very soon.
So do you think that there is still room for new players?
Definitely, there will always be room for new players. If you notice, consumer behavior is shifting drastically. So if we look at Talabat, number of orders or customers we had last year versus the year before, it's always in a growth mode. And Kuwait population is the same. It's not growing a lot. So this means that we have a lot of shift in consumer behavior, and maybe you're talking about the millennials, the young generation. So the market size is there. There is market to catch. That's one. Second, if you introduce something new that's not tapped into, as an example, Talabat caters for the marketplace approach. Whereas Zida came up with a new proposal, which is the direct one-to-one. You can directly order from that platform with Bilbait catering. So there is always room for something new. It's about identifying what that gap is and trying to fill it with something, or coming up with something disruptive, something that no one has thought of now that can disrupt the business in the coming years to come. But definitely, be it in food or not food, online food delivery or online food businesses in food and not in food is something that will grow, I think, exponentially in the years to come. Yeah.
I don't think I can add much to what they both said here. I mean, I agree, there's definitely room for new players. I don't think there's room for a new player to reach the scale of Talabat as a marketplace or as a first-party delivery, but as a first-party delivery player, I think at the moment, it's all about service levels and execution. So we've seen Deliveroo enter the market about a year ago. they've seen to have made some sort of dent in market share, and they've taken some market share. So but I think it's crowded as is for food delivery today. I think it's going to be very challenging for anyone new to enter head to head with talabat and Deliveroo and carriage, unless there's some drastic technological change or way of doing business. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about your business model? So what is the business model of your companies? How much do you charge, like really the brands that you deal with? We want to understand more.
Yes.
Okay, we know why people come to you, but what is it for you as well?
I personally like this question, and I believe I have a good answer to it. We started by not wanting to take any commissions, so it is 0% commission in terms of pricing. The flip side of it is that we charge a subscription fee, and when it came to pricing that subscription fee, we wanted it to be not only affordable to businesses, but even you as an individual, if you wanted to launch a business or a restaurant, then you could afford that subscription. And the price would be, we found it to be a good proxy to explain it is that the cost of your daily coffee, say from any retailer like Starbucks or Cargo, would be 1.5 KD, right? So if you multiply that by 30 days, you would land with the monthly subscription fee for Zida. And this is basically the model. We don't charge you per order. There would be normally, like if someone orders online and pays online, then there would be a transaction fee, which is usually the one that the banks or the payment gateway charges. We don't take any part of that. And at the same time, we always look to compete or to bring competitive offers from the payment gateways from our side. When it comes to delivery partners and the delivery fees, if you chose to roll with a delivery fleet from one of our delivery partners, these prices are also, we try as much as we can to bring the cost down for them on that front as well. And we also give them the opportunity and freedom to choose from any one of these delivery partners.
Okay. Just to shuffle it around.
Our model is very straightforward. We're a marketplace, so we charge a flat-out commission on every order. And that usually ranges from 15 to 25%, depending on how well you can negotiate with us. So, pretty much it.
So ours is a bit more complicated, obviously. So basically we have, as I said, two models, which is the marketplace and the own delivery, and the value is actually the logistics. So the way we do it is that we try to make sure it's a win-win. So it's something logical for the partners and logical for us, because in the online delivery space, one of the critical factors is profitability. So if you look globally, very few online food aggregators have been able to break to profitability. And the reason people ask why, you're a technology firm, you have the service you do, but it's not that easy. If you look at the big players, Uber Eats, Deliveroo, etc., they've not yet hit profitability, although they charge ridiculously high commissions. So our objective is a win-win, where we're able to break into profitability mode, and the partner is able to really benefit and see value out of the service. So the way we do it, what are we actually providing our partners? One, we're an acquisition tool. That's our job, is to get customers to the platform. So we're not simply a transactional website. No, our job is to grow the acquisition, to grow the customer database for Talabat and for that brands. To do that, so definitely we calculate what's our cost per acquisition, so how much is it costing us to actually get customers to our platform, hence to our partners, one. Second, how much will it cost the partner to do it himself? So he was to go and develop his online platform, how much it will cost him? Third, if he was to deliver, if we're talking about an OT model, how much does it cost him to deliver per order? Our pricing strategy is set in a way that we should give a commission that's actually cheaper than these three. So if you come and do it via Talabat, it should actually, if you calculate the numbers and the math, it should be cheaper than if you were to do it yourself. Now, that's part of educating the market. So when we come and tell them, we're charging 25%, that creates a panic. You're sharing my profit. Actually, no. If you were to go and do it yourself, this cost as a percentage of your sales is actually much higher. So we try to do it and educate the market as we go so that it becomes more of a win-win model.
Great, thank you. How do you manage to really deliver? Do you use bikes? Do you have cars? What is it? How do you reach your clients?
In our case, we help them. We build partnerships with delivery, last mile delivery companies, and currently we're integrated with 3 partners. And so we extend the service to our clients naturally, and they benefit from their coverage as well. And whenever we feel there is any missing gap in terms of particular areas not being covered, we seek to cover it with from a partnership perspective. So we build on the existing ecosystem that we actually have seen grow in the last couple of years, and we see ourselves as part of it, and we want to contribute to it at the same time.
And do you cover the whole city?
This is more related to the delivery partners that we have, and yes, they have a decent amount of coverage in terms of the different areas and the speed of the delivery as well.
Basically, for us, not much different, but we do it with a bit of a tweak. So we do have a very big coverage. We have a mix of our own drivers, and where we rely also on third parties. So I can say in the last 5 years, the delivery businesses in Kuwait have expanded a lot because of the likes of these types of services. The way we do it is that we've invested a lot in the technology behind it, because getting logistic services is easy, getting the driver, but making him go from point A to point B and arriving on time is the challenge, which is the last mile delivery. And that's where it becomes very hard. In Kuwait, unfortunately, this part of the industry is not very much regulated. So that's where we struggle. With the drivers that you deal with, are they legit? Are they on the right visa? Are they not freelancers, etc.? So we try as much as we can to make sure that all drivers on Talabat are 100% compliant. That's one. Second, we invest with a lot of technology to make sure that we control the last mile delivery, which is the most difficult, by, for example, restricting driving distance. We don't allow our drivers to go more than 12 minutes of driving distance, because this makes the food cold, has higher risk, might even be received late, etc. Fourth is actually compliance. When you have such a huge fleet, and we're talking here about thousands, controlling them is a very challenging game in terms of starting from coming on time, all the way to delivering on time, all the way to their appearance. Do they wear Talabat uniforms? Are they hygienic? Are they? So I think this is still a market or an area that's still trying to regulate itself. But I think we're very far from where we should be. Not Talabat, I mean the entire market that relies on third-party delivery is still far away from where we should be when it comes to service levels, when it comes to even cost. The costs are ridiculously high for logistic delivery in Kuwait, thanks to all of us here, which have increased that cost. But I think there's a long way to go in that area of delivery. We have a mixture of bikes and cars. The reason why we do that is because of the weather in Kuwait. Usually bikes are more ideal, they're faster. So initially our model, we wanted to go for bikes, but we didn't. So it's, I think, 60 to 70% cars and only 30% bikes. Bikes are either in the morning or in the evening. Cars are in the afternoon. And bikes are mainly used within closed area. For example, if a bike is in Salmiya, we try to restrict it from not going through the ring roads, etc. But this is definitely, there are some, how can I say, loopholes, but that's what we try to restrict from a driver safety perspective.
Delivery for us has always been a battle and something we've always debated inside and out, because delivery has always proven to be probably the biggest killer of food delivery platforms, and the biggest kind of cash drain. Examples, all over the world, from Grubhub in the US with their introduction of delivery that took them to a very undesirable position today. Just Eat was struggling and was recently acquired by Takeaway. And problem is, the concept of food delivery is just inherently flawed, because what we've achieved with delivery with shipping. You know, if you look at containerization and batching, and all these efficiencies were all of a sudden taken, thrown out to the bin with food delivery. Because what you have is a pickup from one location and a drop off to a different location, one item at a time. You got rid of batching, you got rid of route optimization, you got rid of everything, and then the economics never add up. Yet to today, we haven't seen a successful delivery model anywhere. From what I've learned, I mean, you have lots of examples in India with Swiggy and Zomato, Deliveroo, and everywhere in the world. And the way to kind of survive the delivery problem was recently introduced with the cloud kitchen concept, and trying to at least have everything come out of one location instead of having 1,000 pickup locations, and delivering to 200,000 delivery points in a day. For us, it has always been, and we just started piloting delivery, because for us, we had one rule. We had to be able to break even with a single client. So we weren't waiting to achieve delivery scale, because we know pressures from competition can drive price down and change everything again on us. We had to be able to become profitable from a single client, which meant we had to be able to successfully batch orders, and we had to be able to charge enough for each delivery, because charging, for instance, 1 KD or even more, slightly more, isn't very economical. We should be charging more. For us, our average order size is quite large, so taking a larger percentage of that does make sense. But we're able to batch because a lot of our volume is pre-scheduled. And we know, for instance, that this vendor has 10 deliveries between 6 and 8 p.m. tomorrow. And anything that comes in on demand can either fit into that schedule or be, fit into another schedule going on and so on. So it's always been a challenge, and I think it's always going to be a challenge. I think, as you can see, we also have a lot of delivery providers in Kuwait. It's so many options out there. So that's where we stand on it.
Speaking about black kitchens, since we are talking about it, and now this is very trendy, a trend in food and beverage. Does any one of you co-own a black kitchen to start with? And how many of your participating brands really have cloud kitchens and they operate from cloud kitchens?
We don't own any cloud kitchens. We do work with some of the brands from Kitopi in the UAE, and they're joining our platform here in Kuwait as well, some of them.
From Talabat perspective, so we have two models. We have a model where we actually build and operate a cloud kitchen, and we have a model where we actually go and invest in existing cloud kitchen companies. And the way we do it is there's two, generation 1 and generation 2 kitchens. So generation 1 is the classical, more into the real estate. So we actually build the facility, we get everything that's done and ready there. So the partners just come in and operate, so we remove the capex headache from them. This, I think, is of the past, because that's something that has a lot of problems in terms of keeping it hygienic. I mean, we've seen many food aggregators are mentioning them actually have their kitchens shut down because they're not able to maintain hygiene when you have X number of brands going in. So it risks a bigger risk. So this, for us, is not a model that I think we can leverage a lot for the future. This brings us to two other models. One of them is the Kitopi model. So it's basically where it's more of a franchising model where you actually, they even do the operations, they even do everything for you, and they just give you at the end a royalty fee. So that's what's trending now. And there's also the third kitchen that we're also experimenting with, which is more towards high-tech industrialized food, where we can actually prep food in less than 4 minutes. And the good thing is that hopefully this quarter, or towards the end of the quarter, we will open our first generation 3 kitchens in Kuwait. And plus across the globe to help test these different models. So each one caters for something. The biggest leverage of cloud kitchen is actually speed. So that's why we built them. One, speed. Second is a cost perspective, because you're able to procure and control the supply chain for multiple brands. So it gives you economies of scales and leverages things. Plus, you're able to build them closer to the consumer. Hence, if you're close to the consumer, you deliver much faster. And in online food, that's key. That's very, very important.
Okay, and how many of your brands are functioning out of black kitchens with no dine-in outlet?
It differs from country to country, but we have countries that Kuwait, I would say, probably close to 6-7%. That's it. It's significant, by the way. It's not small, but for a start, where cloud kitchens, we've been operating them in Kuwait for a year plus. Oh no, actually a year exactly. And I think it's good, because the key driving factor is not that it's a cloud kitchen, by the way, because customer doesn't know. It's the speed of delivery. So we noticed that because you're faster in delivery, the food quality definitely has to be good. That's a given in any way. But because it's fast, customers tend to order more from it, so the order share tends to grow. Just because the cloud kitchen serves that of you being close to the consumer.
I'd just like to add something to what my colleague Ahmed mentioned. When it comes to cloud kitchens, it may be a new term for a lot of people, but it's actually a natural evolution to what's been happening in the last maybe 10 years. And I think that the larger problem with delivery is that today there is a long tail of restaurants that have a low volume of sales, which is a reflection of the preference, the customer preference today, which is not to order from a few giant restaurants. Previously that used to be McDonald's, Burger King and so on. Today they like the variety, they like the premium cuisine, they like a variety of cuisines as well. And that led to, and I think the birth of marketplaces such as Talabat empower these smaller long-tail restaurants to grow and sustain themselves. The problem with that phase in the food industry was that the delivery was always a nightmare. So anyone who went into Talabat, maybe before they introduced Talabat Go and before Carriage King, you would notice in the review section, everyone was complaining of delivery being slow or late and so on. So then these players introduced delivery, last mile delivery, to try and control it. And then they realized the cost is too high, and these restaurants tried to swallow this cost, and they realized that their profitability was suffering at the same time. And so this led us to the cloud kitchen, which is basically one large kitchen where you can host multiple small restaurants or small brands, so you can bundle the volumes and deliver them very quickly. As for Zida, we don't obviously operate any or own any cloud kitchens. However, we work with the ecosystem, and we realize that several of our brands actually are already working with Kitobi very successfully. And I think the model of Zida and the cloud kitchen works very well, because the main and the primary motive for a cloud kitchen is to bring costs down. And a big part of that is the commission that marketplaces typically charge. That's an ongoing conversation with Talabat and maybe other marketplaces. Whereas with Zida, the conversation is very easy. And I think that's what I wanted to add to this conversation.
Thank you. Now, hearing about all the fleets and the number of brands that are participating for you, what is likely the average daily orders that you're getting, and how much do you think, because they are using your services, restaurants or catering entities are having increase in their sales?
So from our side, it varies a lot from brand to brand, based on their size and their marketing activities and how strong their social media presence is. But we've definitely been seeing a decent increase month on month for several of our brands, which reflects the adoption of social commerce. And again, this may seem like a new term as well, but basically it's a reflection of customers choosing to transact and order and engage with brands on social media. Definitely varies. It could be a few orders a day for small businesses or home businesses, and it could go well into the hundreds for larger brands as well.
Do we have some figures to share?
Unfortunately, for us, since this is pertaining to the brands and their volume, so it's very difficult for us to share these numbers.
Maybe Wasim will share some.
If I was to say figures, legal will be standing at the door there, waiting for me to finish.
While you are selling your services, what are you telling them? What should they be expecting to have as an increase?
I think basically it's more about how do we add value to these brands. So basically what we do when we meet and discuss partners, we discuss definitely orders, we discuss how much we can add value to them. And this differs from brand to brand, from cuisine to cuisine, number of branches, number of areas that are covered, etc. The good thing is that this industry, whether it's talabat, I think as Zida mentioned, also probably also Bilbait, there's always growth. So this means that this market still has room to grow. We do have definitely year-on-year growth, some brands more than others, but I think the adoption of online food ordering is growing in Kuwait. This will help drive unit economics even better for us and for the partners. And as I said, it differs from cuisine to cuisine, brand to brand. So I think that's more or less.
So obviously I'm not going to share the numbers as well, but I can I guess talk about maybe what percentage of our vendors' business does Bilbait drive in general in terms of in terms of their entire offering maybe, or maybe just their catering offering, depending on who we're talking about. But in general, I think with catering, it's quite a high number, so around 50 maybe to 80% of their business is derived through Bilbait. With drop-off of non-catering, I think it's probably hovering around the 50% as well. Yeah, that's as much as I can share in terms of detail.
Tapping on the fact that you are coming from the financial world, so what made you really creative with this? How did you identify that market gap to create?
It was tough to identify, to be honest. I mean, we noticed something. So we knew that in the Gulf and in the Middle East, social behavior was very different to the West. So before this, I was living in London for a few years, and social behaviors are extremely different there. Socialization is let's say, aside from post-work extracurricular activities, it's not very common. So people will go out to maybe a dinner with friends once a month, and they usually go out to a restaurant. In Kuwait and in other parts of the Gulf and the Middle East, gatherings are so frequent, and we're talking multiple times a week. You have friends gatherings, diwaniyas, family gathering, lunches, etc. And it just felt like there was an entire food offering that was suitable to this type of frequency in gatherings that wasn't clearly available. It wasn't transparent. And at the time, I wasn't even very much aware of the concept of food stations. At the time, my wife was who mentioned it to me, and I looked into it, and it seemed like a very suitable and a good fit. These mini buffets, catering, general food stations, to a lesser extent back then, drop-off, but it just fit with the norm. People get together on a weekend, every weekend, big groups of people. So we realized that market was kind of broken. So if you ordered catering before, you probably would only, you probably know one person that would order catering, and if that person ordered catering, they just order from someone they've tried or a referral they really relied on. The menus, the pricing was unstandardized. It was non-standardized. Every restaurant had a different way of doing it. Pricing was not transparent. It wasn't clear what you're getting. So you'd usually call them up. They ask you, you have to come into the store, decide the menu with us, or I'll put together a menu for you for 15 people, and it's going to cost you this much. But what are you getting in return? It wasn't very clear. So we saw an opportunity to kind of capture, go into that fragmented market, unify it, standardize it, grow it, and with it, create kind of value and create a market. That's really how we
Are you still are you seeing competition following that, what you did? Are you a sole player?
I think there is competition. In different markets. For example, the Bilbait has already been replicated in Saudi and in Qatar to certain levels of success. I'm not entirely sure, but in Kuwait there has been, and there still is, competition in different levels. There is direct competition that have similar models to us, but none that I have seen have gained any meaningful traction. The main competition would be indirect, and I think it's with the delivery platforms, mainly Carriage to a larger extent has an overlap in offering with Bilbait, especially in the gathering and drop-off segments. And if we are focused on any type of competition, it's that type of competition, because it is a segment we value.
Thank you, Ahmed. Hamad, can you just tell us how do you differentiate yourself from other online platforms?
So for us, it's about three things. It's about the convenience, the control, and the freedom. Convenience in that you get the same online ordering experience that you're used to and that you love, without having to leave Instagram, for example, which the most amount of time spent on any app on your phone is probably, if it's not Instagram, then it's WhatsApp. And it's within these platforms that we want you to stay where you are and engage with your friends and your brands that you're used to ordering from. So that's the convenience. The control is that this online ordering experience is provided under your own branding and domain name, which you own for both of them, and it integrates very nicely with your social media presence. The freedom comes when we integrate with different partners on the delivery side, and so they have the flexibility to go with any pricing model that these partners provide as well. So this is mainly the differentiating elements. And on top of it, of course, that all of the services provided commission free. We would compare maybe Zida to some international players that are not really active in the region, and they're not localized as well, which is something that Zida prides itself in. And in addition to that, the assisting and the help that we provide to them on the ground until they launch, and after they launch, we remain with them every step of the way.
All right. Wasim, if I go back to you, we are seeing that the online business is moving at a very fast pace. So what might be things that might disrupt this industry in the years to come, you think?
If I knew the answer, I think we'd know what to do to dominate the market in the years to come. So basically, I think first it has to do with technology. So what new technologies are readily available that can be leveraged. Second, it has to do with speed. So what we've noticed and what we've seen across Talabat, even across the platforms that Delivery Hero owns across the globe, speed is the #1 factor that can really cause the disruptions. So for example, if deliveries were to happen with drones, where you can actually order and get it in literally less than 10 minutes, that might be something that might actually disrupt. If there's a big shift in consumer behavior because big giants like Facebook, Instagram come up with a functionality or a feature that aggregators will find difficult to adopt. The thing is that we know we are within a volatile type of industry. We know that unit economics are very hard to break, so this even puts more pressure. highly disruptable if you had the idea. I mean, if you were to talk to someone 7 years, 8 years ago, they would find it very difficult to have a player like Carriage come in and disrupt the market the way they disrupted it, because they came with something new, they controlled the last mile delivery, and they gave that enjoyable experience while you are ordering. So from my perspective, it revolves around speed, and it revolves around controlling the last mile delivery.
You spoke a lot about expansion, and I think we know very much that nowadays we have the Competition Protection Authority that is gaining, and it is being a hot issue in GCC. How are you handling it from your side?
Basically, the Competition Protection Authority is something new in the GCC. So they've been established a long time ago, but they've not been active. So recently they've been active, and definitely whenever there's something for the first time, there's no precedence before, so you set the precedence with them. From our end, we collaborate, and we're always in touch with the CPAs across all countries to define definitely in line with the laws of each country, where does the boundaries stand in terms. From our end, we always comply with international standards, and mainly I'm talking here about European standards. So what's considered an anti-competitive versus competitive. This is sometimes interpreted differently based on laws in each country, but the way we do it is we have a very good open communication channels with all CPA authorities in all countries, and we discuss, we debate, and we try to come to a common understanding on the difference of opinions that we have.
Great. So from Horeca today, any new plans, any of you that you would like to announce? What are your future plans? We need a scoop.
So for us, it's definitely making, since our offering is fairly new compared to Bilbait and Talabat. So it's more about making it a more pleasant and delightful experience, and one that they would readily engage in time after time. So for us, the main model is built around, if you have repeat customers, if you have loyal customers, then it makes a lot more sense for you to engage them on Instagram without having to pay the commission time and time again, which is the model of Talabat and Bilbait. So we're definitely building into loyalty and into repeated and easy, fast checkout experience as well. In terms of regionally, we're also looking to expand. We already have some clients across the GCC, but we're looking to cement our position in these markets as well for 2020. And I think that's fairly enough.
And it's going to be regional?
Yeah, most definitely. We're already, like I said, we're already supporting multiple clients with online payments and with our platform in GCC. We have a couple of clients in GCC and Egypt as well. And we're looking, so we're definitely seeing the interest coming from there. It's just that we haven't been focused to expand our reach in these markets, but that's definitely going to be the focus for 2020.
Thank you.
From our end, we've launched a very interesting concept lately, which is similar to cloud kitchens, but it's in groceries. So we've launched what we call our dark stores, and we've tested it and piloted in Kuwait, and now we've took the decision to actually expand it across all the GCC countries. Basically, the value proposition is you get your groceries delivered to you in less than 15 minutes. So it models the same as the cloud kitchen, being very close to the customer and really developing our last mile delivery to be really able to deliver grocery as fast as possible. And food will still be our core. This is more of a complementary expansion with an objective of increasing frequency, definitely.
And what about Bilbait? Any expansion plans? Any plans to grow outside Kuwait?
Yes, definitely. So the Saudi experiment is recent, but we're seeing good signs of adoption. So we do plan on expanding to other regions in Saudi. We're currently in Riyadh, so we're looking at Jeddah potentially as the next step, maybe Dammam, Khobar at the same time. I mentioned earlier we have this vision of becoming kind of a a super lifestyle and social app. So there are a few interesting offerings and segments that are non-food that will be launching soon, that fit into that narrative and that story very well. And I think, you know, for us, it's really we're focused on building a really solid, you know, a really solid technology, a really solid platform that can adapt to the other verticals we're going to quite easily, and we've invested a lot into this development. So I think over the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to see new verticals popping up in Dubai that are going to be very interesting. Some compete with existing apps, some are completely new, but that's pretty much it.
So I wish you luck, and I'll leave now for the audience the floor to ask questions.
Question number one, what 3 companies you're dealing with حق delivery? كارج اليوم تصريحهم, what does it mean for restaurant owners? Are they going to come وياكم بتسكر لاب, it's the same app, negotiation 15 starts, let's negotiate back, that's all.
بالنسبة لنا the 3 companies that we started with are مشكور, Ogo and Sahalat, and we're definitely working to add more as well
Through experience, are they good, are they fast, are they...
Well, so the offerings actually differ from one to one. Some of them are, so one of them offers SLA, a service level agreement, where if the order is delayed or the delivery doesn't arrive on time, you actually get compensated as a business. The other one actually competes on price. All of them deliver fairly with good timings. The last one is probably more tailored to smaller businesses with lower volumes. So each one kind of has an edge. And so our stance is to provide you with the choice and the freedom to go with anyone that works for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess maybe more than one have the same question. Basically, Delivery Hero issued a statement today. I think it went into Al-Qaba's newspaper also, and probably other newspaper. Although I'm not at liberty to talk about it, but I'll give it to you from my own personal point of view and opinion. What DH basically stated is that they're trying to, or they're simplifying their business in MENA. So from a customer perspective, you still have these 2 apps you can order from. So DH did not say that we're closing carriage. No, on the contrary, it's there. It's mainly about simplifying their operations in the MENA for the customer and the partner's sake. So now you deal with, for example, one account manager, one transmission method system, etc. For both. So it's mainly just about keeping the business and this operation as simple as possible. That's it. 15% commission.
You want to negotiate? It doesn't start at 15, it starts at 25. 15 to 25 a range.
Any other questions?
I'm already in Talabat, in Bilbait, in Kerridge as well. So in part of comparison, hopefully he spoke about this information in Qabas, about merging Kerridge and Talabat. Hopefully this one would be it will be in the favor of customer. Hopefully it's in the favor of the restaurants as well. I hope you will not go far away in the percentage. But the only issue here is that to have let's say, the edge or the power or the advantage from each, let's say, app. For example, I had a bad experience with Carriage in the customer service. Having to update my menu, it took a long time. On the other hand, Talabat works in that point. So hopefully, both of those things goes toward the restaurant favor. Secondly, you mentioned that as Talabat, you go toward expand, let's say, growing the sales of the restaurant itself. I see it from my side how to grow with you.
as a restaurant, I need two things. Mainly, I need the delivery to be all over Kuwait, as she said. So in Talabat, it's not that big. The areas, it's not that, doesn't cover that much from each branch. So I have to open multiple branches. Let's say I have to open 7 to 10 branches all over Kuwait to cover all over Kuwait, which is not practical for my side. I have three to 4 branches, and I'm covering only till 6th Street Road or something like that. And secondly, how I grow with you, we need the marketing support. I heard about many programs or many marketing campaigns happens, but not for all the restaurants. It makes sense, I know, but it has to let's say have it in with many let's say influencers or many platforms, and it has to be marketed to all the restaurants that you have.
Okay. So basically, I'll answer these 3 points. First is definitely part of simplifying the business is taking what's best in each company. So that's what we have in mind, and that's why this is being done. It's to really leverage the great job that Carriage team has done and the great job that Talabat team has done. That's one. Second, when it comes to driving distance, etc., that's something where also we're trying to educate the market with. Definitely, nothing stops us from picking up an order in Salmiya and delivering it to Kuwait City. But what we're trying to control is actually the experience. So the way our model, or we try to push it, is we should not put food in a bag for more than 10 minutes because it starts to change in terms of taste and definitely is not received hot. But your concern is 100% valid. What do I need then to do to cover all of Kuwait? That's where we do provide services, and as an example, you can cover Kuwait with 5 or 6 stores, but if you open them in the right location. And we've provided a lot of services to restaurants where we advise them where to open based on what we call customer heat maps. So for example, in this area, this cuisine works great, but in that area, it doesn't. You know what I mean? So we do provide guidance to existing partners within Talabat, how to expand based on the data that we have, which has been 15 years in the market, the biggest player in the market. So we properly guide restaurants. Why? If you open a successful branch, it's a success story for you and for me. Because you generate orders, you're happy, we take our commission, we're happy. So I think that's where we can collaborate more with more partners on guiding. Because Kuwait, area by area, there's no proper balance of supply and demand. So we try to correct that. From marketing support, we have a lot of number of restaurants, so we try as much as we can to be fair and to balance these. But definitely we're open to ideas on how we can even support more partners to grow. Our focus is mainly on partners that believe in the customer vision that we have, which is really delivering a very good customer service. What do we mean by that? Very high NPS score, very little cancellations, orders actually prepared and delivered on time. So we tend to boost brands that really result in a positive experience. But I think that's something we can also take offline for any particular brand and discuss.
Thank you, Wasim. I'd like to thank you again for your participation in this panel, and it was a great pleasure having you, and thank you for your input, and thank you all for attending.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.